Good job.
Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are about ready to start. I have such an incredible artist who's part of our Arts on Stage team. Give it up for Amani Hanson. She's amazing. Welcome, Amani. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Woo, I'm doing good. We hung out last week and Amani was teaching me about this new method that she's been learning and been so successful in, called resin pouring, and really discovering what the ocean looks like. So here's a cutting board that I created with her help, and so this is the style. And so there's pouring that you do with resin, which is amazing. And then I made some smaller versions, like a smaller cutting board too. So you can see that, and you can see how the cells develop through so many different processes. So it's so much fun to create together, isn't it, Amani?
Yes, so much fun. I loved it.
I know, I did too. And we are at her studio. So whatever you see in the background is her art. And it's so fun because I was telling her, because we're moving to Southern California, I was saying, I want an art gallery like this where you can just leave your stuff out. How many of you who love to create with music or art or fashion, you like your workspace to continue versus having to pick up everything? And with art, it's a lot of pickup. It's like not just a little bit, but it's a lot of pickup. So anyway, welcome to Create Talks. One of the things that we're going to be doing today is talking about empowering creatives to explore what they like, what they love. And if you have any questions for Amani, please pepper that with questions, because we want to get to those as well. So this is live and we're so excited that you're joining. If you know of anyone that loves to create, join us, text them, let them know, and let's get going and share the goodness of what can happen when we create what we like. Now, part of that journey, which I'm talking about, is the fact that I love the ocean. Obviously, I'm moving to Southern California. I love the ocean. We had our church there for 10 years before moving to Bethel about 20 years ago. But in that process, when you create something in this kind of pouring like situation, you really are out of control a lot of the time because you have to wait for it to develop. And so for me as an artist, I really like to know where I'm headed. And so this really helped me to let go and to create in process, which is part of what we do with God. We're talking about supernatural creating every single Wednesday. And there's that process, which I know, Amani, you're an accomplished artist, where, ooh, this is kind of fun, but it's a little bit, ooh, like what's happening. And so part of discovering in life and being empowered is to try new things. So we hope that you would try that, and especially when you hear Amani's journey. So Amani, if people want to know more about you, what is your website right now so they could check you out as we're talking?
My website is amanihanson.com. So that's AMANI Hanson. And then on Instagram, amanihanson.art. And that's where I'm most active. You can see kind of what I do on a daily basis and what I'm creating and stuff. So,
and remember, the Hanson is Hanson. I thought it was En. So remember, it's SON, like the Son of God. Ha ha. But anyway,
yeah.
So we're going to dive into some questions for you. And then again, this is live. So if you have any questions for Amani, we would love to hear or comment. So Amani, when did you first know that you wanted to create, and why did this passion grow? What's your story?
So I actually started creating in high school, actually 8th grade. I was in Canada, and it was kind of funny because it was like drama or art, and I was like, I'm too shy to be in front of people, so art it is.
Come on.
So then we kind of got assigned mediums, like we learned different stuff, but then we were part of a competition that we did and we were assigned mediums. So the first medium I worked in was pastels. So that's kind of how I started. And then I moved into charcoal and pencil and loved doing portraits. I did quite a few portraits for different people and sold those as I was high school and after graduating high school. So
Yeah,
that was the very beginning.
it's so fun because I was very similar in the fact that I love faces as well. So portraiture is a beautiful way, and pastel is one of the most greatest ways to do portraiture because it blends so well.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun medium because it's all with your hand or all with like tortillions and other equipment. And so that's a great way to get started and to really grow. I'll never forget, just as a quick story, I'll never forget when I got this this ticket, and we didn't have money. I think I was pregnant with my daughter Alexa, and so I did community service. So I did it at the Boys and Girls Club, and I did kids portraits, and and they just loved it. And I'm going, I'm partnering, you know what? So like the thing about portraiture that I love is it gets into the depth of a person, which we'll talk about in a second, but that's just huge. So guys, what do you love about portraiture? Share and comment on that. And if you have any questions about portraiture as well, or about your own journey, put that in the comment. But I love that. What helped you to develop as an artist in school? I mean, and what were the constraints as well that you found in discovering that in that environment? So share a little bit, because you went into art college, right?
Yeah, so I ended up doing a 3-month art intensive at with YWAM, the School of Illustration. So I had done some electives in college for art, but I didn't really think of like taking it into a career level at that point. But eventually I was like, okay, like this is definitely what I want to spend my life doing. And so that's when I did the School of Illustration. And I had at that point been painting for quite a few years as a prophetic artist. I had done a workshop, probably one of the first ones that you led. It was back in the early 2000s. And when Brian and Jen were there, and they were just barely on the map, kind of.
Yeah,
and
totally.
so I had started painting then, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. It felt way more free than pastel. You can just smear paint around, and it just felt so expressive. And so I would do everything spontaneously with paint, and every time I painted on stage, it was completely spontaneous. So going into art school, we had assignments, of course, and they're like, this is your topic, you have to paint a painting with only 3 colors, or, and it has to be with, like, we had to pick a Bible verse to do it with, or, it was like, it felt like there were all these rules, and I was like, oh man, this is tough. I don't like this. I don't plan ahead. Like, that's my strength, is that I just go with the flow. So I really had to learn that there's actually strength and value in pre-planning. One of my best friends in school, she was actually the opposite. She pre-planned everything. And so she was like, watching me, and she's like, how do you do that? That's crazy. Like, so we learned a lot from each other in that process, but it was really good because it took my art to a whole nother level where I discovered I can still hear from God. I can still be spontaneous, but He can give me more structure so that I can refine my skills, refine my vision, process through like what's the best way to actually communicate what's on my heart instead of just painting the first thing that comes to mind. So
that's amazing. I was at that school. I was speaking there in 2019 at the illustration school in Kona in the YWAM base. And so I was teaching them how to paint with God free. And so these people they had their, like what you talked about, their little books, their everything. And then I had them actually create a piece of art spontaneously for somebody they have that little coffee shop right in the middle of the YWAM base. And they were freaking out. Oh my gosh, I got to do this piece and this person got touched and this happened. And it's so great to teach people both skills. Like both skills need to happen. Like sometimes you're needed to really grow in a skill set. And other times you need to grow spontaneously in hearing what God is saying to a person in a 5 or 10 minute sketch. And both of them are powerful. And I think it's important to have both. I think that's what you were learning, is the value of both, which is so cool. So share about some recent art pieces, and if we could see them, and that would be awesome. And what you were praying, what God was saying through your pieces. We would love, love, love to see some of your art.
Right. I have a couple right behind me. So this one, I'll bring it forward. It's very big. This is a 3 foot by 4 foot piece. I'll show what I can. But this piece was really for me about finding freedom with God and just diving into his presence. It's called Rise. And I had a vision to start with this piece, but then what I did was every single time I sat down to paint, I just went into worship, and I just had encounters with God every single time I began to paint. So sometimes like all I did was like paint the color yellow. Like I just was really letting God show me his heart for me as I was painting it. And I just felt like it was about coming out of hiding and finding my voice. And I was praying and interceding for people, and it was such a powerful experience. It was really cool because it felt like a lot of what I do when I paint on stage is like just being, in his presence and co-creating with him. But this was very much that same process, just over an extended amount of time. I think I actually took several months to paint this because I was just so just slowly letting him show me like what's next in it, and experiencing his freedom in that process. So
I love that. And that's such a beautiful painting, because you could tell like she's gaining more freedom, and how the wings are so representational of flying out, being yourself. Like a lot of us need to know, like we get to prophesy over ourselves through art, and through through poetry, through any kind of way. And so prophetic art isn't just for us to prophesy to what's happening to others in a service, or to others that we're giving away our art, but it's actually to prophesy into ourselves at times. And I know, like just 3 weeks ago, I was painting, and I did this picture of a woman, and I was practicing my gold leaf. Yay! On this, which Amani and I were talking about another session. And anyway, this woman came up and she goes, "You painted me." And I felt like I was going to paint a person. Wow. And so she now is buying that painting. And it's the kind of step where sometimes you actually can paint a person, which I've seen so many times. But we have a couple questions. Yeah, let me just show you one of them. Carly said, Amy is asking, have you ever done book covers before? Is that something that you've done?
Yeah, I actually, part of my job as an artist is a graphic designer. So that's my other job, is creating book covers. And then I've also been able to partner with an organization that used my paintings for a book that they made to raise money for their nonprofit. So,
and that had to do with social justice, right?
Yeah.
Which is so cool. So that's what's powerful. And then another question is, we are both here, Arnold and Carolyn Allen, Amy Hanson's parents. Oh my gosh, your parents are here.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hi, Mom and Dad. So glad you joined us. You probably could tell some stories on Amani and her creativity, I bet, which is fun. I think that's part of the fun in all of this, is creativity, it's like, it's something that we share together. And I remember my mom, who was an incredible artist, who so inspired me in what I do right now. But there's that lineage, and I know with your 3 kids that there's that lineage, Amani, that you are giving to them. I love it. So cool. Another question I have for you is, how do you create with God? So part of that process is, as you're listening right now, some of you might not be aware that it is a process. It's not just like Amani or I or other creatives just go, oh, I think I'm going to paint. It's that process of leaning in to what the presence of God is saying and allowing there to be another person in the process of creating. But I would love for you to share some testimonies about how you create with God, and then how people have been impacted by your art. Don't you guys want to hear that? Let's hear the good news.
Yeah, so for me, usually the first step in creating with God is just kind of like letting my spirit brood on something. And I've had it where it's been something that's been like over several years that I've been ruminating on something. And then also, sometimes it's like a matter of hours or days. Like this week, as I was preparing to paint on stage, I was just kept asking God, like, what is it that you want to, say to our nation, with it being July 4th. So I start with that process of just finding out where his heart is. And then usually imagery comes out of that. And so then I ask about everything. We talk about which size canvas, which color paint to start with. I like to just be very intuitive in the entire experience. And I found, especially with painting on stage, that it's like so incredible when what you're doing with your paint matches with what God is doing in the room. Like a lot of times the music will match up, like, they're singing about rain and I'm like doing blue drips on the canvas, or,
Yeah.
It feels simple, but the power of that experience of knowing like you're just in tune with God, and that I think I can feel like it feels like the heavens are opening, and the presence of God can just show up in like a really tangible way. So I think that people really see that and feel that as you're creating, and it brings them into an experience of where they can hear God in a new way and see even like things that have been on their heart, and like to see it on a canvas and be like, yes, this is what my process has been, or this is what I've been thinking about or praying about. I think it brings people a lot of hope and freedom. Those are probably the 2 main like themes in my work, and like beauty from ashes.
Yeah.
So.
And what the painting that you did on the right, to your right, that was a painting that you, the other way. Yes. That was a painting that you did. Not that one, but the paint. Well, yeah, well, we can go to the painting with the flag, and then, yeah, go with the painting with the flag first.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that you did 4th of July. And look at that painting. Isn't that just stunning? And share about like what you were thinking about, why the finger is by the mouth. Tell me a little bit about what you were thinking about when you designed that with the Lord.
Yeah, so this one, I was praying about it all week and kind of expecting God to be like, I want to do, like something specific, like it's about identity or it's about, something. And I was just waiting to hear what that was. And I didn't get a specific word, but I just felt like he was saying to just continue to wait on him. And that it's easy for us to put our own ideas into like, this is what our nation needs. This is what I need to pray for. But I felt like God was just saying, it's about just joining with him in just waiting on him and like letting our hearts be in tune with him. And so like the finger by the mouth is, I always do that. Like I like have my hand like on my face and I'm just like in that waiting place. And then I actually also just found out that it's the Jewish decade of the mouth. So I think that's pretty cool too. I think it's about like really considering our speech, watching what we say, being intentional in what we say. And then also each of her eyes are painted over, there's gold leaf under. I had done like an abstract painting with a lot of texture and gold leaf before. So it just worked out that her eyes were both over the gold. And I felt like that was about seeing the gold in our nation and like seeing through God's eyes. It's not about the circumstances of what we see around us, but it's about having a heavenly perspective. So, and then I also felt like there's tons of texture. It's really like broken and like highly texturized. And I felt like that was a symbol like of beauty from ashes, how God takes our broken places and our dry places and like he turns them into gold and he turns them into beauty and he gives us like a message out of them. So, you know, for our nation, like we have a lot of broken places, but I believe that God's going to bring like beautiful stories of restoration.
Come on. Wow, Amani, that is so cool. Comment on that if you are watching. What do you love about this art piece? And part of what we're talking about is creativity is a part, can be a part of intercession. And just like when we sing and we're interceding for something in the same way, art can do that as well. And so pray for that. I mean, now this painting, when you look at it, you're going, oh my gosh, you see the gold leaf, you see the fact of seeing the gold in our country, especially when there's so many voices of negativity, right? I mean, come on. Such a great commentary on that. And then the beauty for ashes, I love that. And just that thing of pondering, which you just talked about, is such a powerful word. And so art can speak louder than words. And that's the power of what can happen when we create with God. So this was a painting that she did, not just like, oh, I think I'm going to paint with a face with a flag. No, this was, every part was intentional in what she shared. I love that. That's so incredible. And share about your other piece too. I want people to see that too. That's such a beautiful piece.
So this one is called Through It All. And I just believe that it's about like staying true to ourselves. She's got these like tattoos of flowers on her shoulders. And I believe that's like the beauty of what's inside coming to the surface as we just realize that how much we've come through and how God's grace is with us in the midst of all of it. Like, you know, we all have stories of hardship, but God shows up for us continually. And the more we just lean into him and rest in him, the more we can see, you know, the way that he's really like real in our lives. So yeah, this was really fun because it had been a long time since I'd done pastel. Like I said, in like my early years, that was something I did a lot of. But this one, I brought it back and I did a lot. This is a lot of different medias in here, but one of the things I did was using pastels in it, oil and chalk pastels. So that was really fun. I did that. This is the last painting I did just before the flag one. So those are all fairly recent.
Wow, that's so amazing. I love it. It's such a powerful tool. And I love the power behind what can happen in an image and how it can transform us. Like Guys, if you love this, let us know. And I have another question for you. Share 3 tips for creatives who want to sell their art, because you sell your art a lot on Instagram and other places. And you can, by the way, again, we're going to give you that handle in a second. And how can they grow in stores and having their art in galleries? So share a little bit about that. What 3 tips would you give them?
So I would say the first tip is definitely make sure you're on Instagram, because it's been a huge growth tool for me, especially in the last couple of years. It's a really good way to be able to share with people what your process is. And the more people can connect with the story behind the work, then the more meaningful it is and the more they're going to want to have it themselves. So that's why, when we paint on stage, like, people get to be invited into that process and it becomes a really meaningful experience. So you can create a similar kind of feel on your Instagram with sharing the behind the scenes and the process, and then being able to share your finished product as well. So I would definitely say that that's been a hugely instrumental thing for me in like taking my art, my reach to a broader audience.
That's so cool.
And then number 2 would be create a website. You can do it really easily. There's so many different platforms. It's really intimidating for a lot of people, but it's actually a really easy thing that you can find different, platforms like Wix or Squarespace or different things where you can just do a drag and drop. And that just gives people a way to see kind of the expanse of your work and to know what you do. And then of course, to be able to buy it. So much of, it used to be like, you can only sell to the people that you're with in your city, but now we have access to the entire world.
Woo!
So having those spaces where people can find us is, really significant. So people, all over your country or all over the world, depending how broad you want to get, can be able to find you and you can share your work with them.
So guys,
yeah,
and these are important tools because we all can grow from one another. This is part of what we want to do in Create Talks, is help each other grow. Larica Gonzalez Diaz says, wow, this painting brought tears to me looking at it. So way to go, make people cry, right? and then Rowena says, who's a good, she's one of our Arts on Stage leaders, says, love that your process can be something you've been dwelling on for years, months, days, or even hours, but that you also spontaneously paint in the moment. So you have both of those at your disposal, which is important to use both. Sometimes it's a longer process. So I love that. Thanks for sharing so much, Rowena. That's amazing. One more. Ariel. Oh, Ariel, welcome. I says, I love the meaning behind your paintings. And Cecilia Vandergrant says, I love the gold. Woo! And then Ariel also says, Amani, I love your artwork. You are an amazing artist. And that's what's great. We get to inspire one another. And we're going to move now into some prophetic time right now. So again, Amani, if you have any prophetic words or if you want to release anything, now is the time. What are you feeling?
I just feel like I'd love to just pray and release just new levels of freedom and boldness over people. I think it's easy to, like, we can be, as artists, like, we love to create, and so it's easy to like kind of want to keep that to ourselves or feel intimidated about sharing, because what are people going to think, and what if they don't like what I have? But I've really felt, especially just in the last few months, just this resounding feeling of like, whatever you make, there's room for that in the world, and that there's people out there that need to see what you've made. And so just don't stop. It takes courage. And that's my word for the year. And so I just keep remembering, like, when I'm like, I'm not ready for that. And I'm like, no, okay, this is about courage. And
Come on.
Every time we're, faithful to take a step, God is faithful to meet us and show up for us. So
come on.
God, I just thank you for what you're doing in all these creatives' lives, all the people that are here today that are hungry for more of you and more of your, more of the opportunity to co-create with you. And I just release that to them, God, that there would be new levels of intimacy with you in their creative process, and that you would just show up for them in new ways as they're painting, and also give them wisdom in where to step out and where to begin to show their work if that's on their hearts to expand their art business. Ask for divine connections and opportunities for their art to be seen and shared and bought and treasured.
Wow. Amen. I agree with you. And Amy was asking a question too about Create Academy. And just so that you know what I've done, which Amani has been a part of, we have what's called art apprenticeship that spanned in the last 2 or 3 years, where we met every week together. In fact, we've done that for a long time here at Bethel with our Arts on Stage. We also meet once a month with our Arts on Stage. So Create Academy is Amy, is a broader spectrum for people around the world that have my online community. But again, we have Amani and so many other of the artists that are here at Reading with me that we get to be together in person. Yay, Jesus. So be praying into that. One of the things that we want to do in Create Academy, just so that you know, Amy, is when we start eCourse Live in September, in August, we're going to invite a friend so that your friends can join Create Academy, and they can be doing all the courses with me and with you throughout September through June. So that's coming up. So that should be coming out soon, just so that you know. But I love it. You know, one of the things that I love, Amani, is like we get inspired by each other. And I'm so inspired by your journey and by the creativity that's in you and by your journey. Everybody needs to know, like, she started in high school. Let's recap. And she could have gone into drama, but aren't you glad? I don't think so. I think I'm going to hit this one. And then how she grew in illustration with YWAM. And there's so much in our journey that is so vital, important, but find your tribe. If I could say one thing with Amani right now, it would be if you have a tribe of people that you're doing it with, whether you live with an arts community, or whether, if you're somewhere else and you don't have any Christians, join Create Academy, but find people that you can talk to about your process of creating with God, and don't just let it sit in the back burner, but start to create and start to find out what you're called to be. And so we just release people's dreams and visions right now in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. So guys, isn't this amazing? So guys, share this. If you have any people that need to know about Amani's story or about her journey, please share. And again, look at her artwork on Instagram. It is for sale, and share that too, so that we can inspire others. All right. And remember, you are born to create. Thank you, Amani, for joining me. It's been such an awesome time. And we'll see you soon. I know. And love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.